All right, so today we're going to be doing something a little different, and we're going to dive into the world of financial therapy.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it sounds kind of strange at first,
Hmm.
but it's not about putting like your wallet on a therapist's couch.
Right?
It's more about like understanding the psychology behind our money habits.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, so this deep dive is based on the book Financial Therapy: Theory, Research, and Practice, and also a podcast episode that featured the authors.
Sounds like a good combo.
Yeah, and it could help you uncover and maybe even change some deep-seated financial behaviors you never realized you had.
That's fascinating because I've definitely made financial choices where it's like logically it made sense, but then I just like felt weird about it afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. And the book talks about how our past experiences, like especially those from childhood, they really shape our relationship with money.
That makes sense.
And it's not just about learning to budget better. It's about like untangling those emotional knots that we have like tied to finances.
All right, like those Celtic knots that are just impossible to unravel.
Yeah, exactly. And the book actually describes a case study where a woman who grew up in poverty, like she developed hoarding tendencies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because she was constantly afraid of like scarcity and not having enough.
I can see how that would happen.
Yeah, so like how does a financial therapist even begin to help someone with those kinds of issues?
Well, it's not a quick fix, that's for sure, but there are techniques. Like one common behavior is financial avoidance, and that's where people just ignore bills, avoid bank statements, just put off any kind of planning because it's so overwhelming.
Oh yeah, I know people like that for sure.
Yeah, they just bury their head in the sand rather than facing their finances.
But what about the opposite end of the spectrum, like financial overcommitment? How does financial therapy approach that?
Yeah, so financial overcommitment is like taking on more debt than you can handle or trying to live beyond your means, and that often comes from deeper emotional needs.
Interesting.
Like maybe they're seeking validation or filling a void or trying to replicate a sense of control that was missing earlier in life. So, financial therapy helps by addressing those underlying needs and also providing practical strategies for debt management and realistic goal setting.
Okay, so it's not just about like creating a budget and saying no to every purchase.
Right. It's more about understanding the why behind those impulses in the first
Wow,
place.
it's so fascinating.
It really challenges that traditional approach to personal finance where it's just all about the numbers. And it's like, no, it's about the emotions driving those decisions too.
This is making me think about like my own financial behaviors. Like, what are some other ways that financial therapy can help people change those like ingrained patterns?
Well, so for financial avoidance, the book talks about using techniques like cognitive reframing.
What is that?
So it's basically challenging those negative thought patterns that we have associated with finances and trying to replace them with more positive and constructive ones.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
It helps to reduce the anxiety and fear that often lead to avoidance in the first place.
So instead of just letting fear paralyze you, you learn to approach your finances with a different mindset.
Exactly.
But how does that translate into real world changes? Like, can you give me an example of someone who successfully used financial therapy?
Yeah, there's a case study in the book about a man who constantly overspent to impress others.
Oh, wow.
And through therapy, he discovered that this behavior stemmed from his childhood.
Interesting.
Yeah, his family struggled financially, and he always felt this need to prove his worth.
Wow, so he's trying to overcompensate.
Exactly, and by addressing those underlying insecurities and developing healthier coping mechanisms, he was able to break free from that cycle of overspending and actually build a more secure financial future for himself.
That's amazing. So it sounds like financial therapy really helps you rewrite your whole financial narrative.
Exactly, it's not just about fixing the symptoms, but really getting to the root cause of those behaviors.
That's so powerful.
It is.
This is making me think about all that advice you always hear, like just create a budget and stick to it. It all seems so simplistic now.
Mhm.
Like, does financial therapy even address like those more traditional approaches to money management?
Oh, absolutely. It doesn't dismiss those methods like budgeting or investing at all. It actually works really well with them.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, think of it this way. You can have like the most detailed budget spreadsheet in the world. But if you're constantly like subconsciously sabotaging yourself because of some deep-seated belief about money, you're probably not going to succeed.
Right, it's like you're trying to build a house on a shaky foundation.
Exactly. You need that solid base, and in this case that foundation is a healthy emotional relationship with money.
Yeah, and financial therapy is what helps you build that foundation.
Exactly. It gives you the self-awareness and the emotional regulation skills to actually make those tools effective.
Man, this is really resonating with me. It's like a light bulb went off in my head. It's
Yeah.
not just about the numbers. It's like this whole complex interplay between our emotions, our past, and our financial decisions.
Yeah, and the authors of financial therapy, they really hit on that point. They say that financial well-being isn't just about how much money you have, but how you feel about it.
That makes
It's about feeling empowered and in control of your finances instead of stressed and overwhelmed by them.
What I'm finding really interesting is that they say that mindset shift is crucial for making a lasting change.
Absolutely.
Like, you can have all the knowledge in the world about money, but if your underlying beliefs are holding you back, you're not really going to achieve financial freedom.
Exactly. And that's where financial therapy comes in. It helps you identify and challenge those limiting beliefs.
How does that work?
So, for example, someone might believe deep down that they're just bad with money because of things they heard growing up.
Yeah.
And that belief becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy. But through therapy, they can start to question that belief and replace it with something more empowering.
So it's like therapy for your relationship with money itself. You're working through those past traumas, challenging those negative beliefs, and building a healthier connection with your finances.
Precisely. It's not just about the numbers and the budgets. It's about addressing those emotional and psychological barriers that prevent people from achieving their financial goals and finding that financial peace.
So for our listeners who are maybe just starting to wrap their heads around this whole concept of financial therapy, what would you say is like the one key takeaway from all of this?
The authors emphasize that understanding your emotional relationship with money is as important as knowing how to manage it.
Interesting.
They believe that if you fix your mindset, your financial future will naturally improve.
That's such a powerful statement. It highlights that our financial health is about so much more than just our bank balance.
Exactly. It's about our emotional well-being, too.
And it's about recognizing that money isn't just a tool. It's a reflection of our values, our beliefs, and our past experiences.
Right, and by understanding that complex relationship, we can make more conscious and fulfilling decisions about our finances.
I love that. So for all of you listening out there, have you ever made a financial decision based more on emotion than logic? Like, maybe you bought something you couldn't really afford just because it made you feel good, or maybe you avoided opening your bank statements because you were scared of what you might see. We've all been there, right?
Absolutely, and those are actually great opportunities for self-reflection. The key is to become more aware of those patterns and start asking ourselves why we react to money the way we do. What are the underlying beliefs and emotions that are driving our financial behaviors?
And that's where the power of financial therapy comes in. It gives you the tools and the guidance to unpack those emotions, challenge those beliefs, and ultimately rewrite your financial narrative. It's about taking back control and creating a healthier, more fulfilling relationship with money.
Yeah, and it's not even just about like personal gain. You know, the authors talk about how financial therapy can have a much wider impact, like a ripple effect.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it can positively affect families, communities, even society as a whole.
Wow. So by taking care of our own financial well-being, we're actually contributing to something bigger.
Exactly. It's about creating a more financially healthy and resilient world for everyone.
That's a really cool way to think about it.
It is, and this reminds me of something the podcast host said to their listeners. It really resonated with me, and I think it applies to everyone here too. They asked, have you ever made a financial decision based more on emotion than logic?
That's a good question.
Yeah, take a moment to think about that.
I know, I definitely have. I mean, we're all human rights. But like you said before, becoming aware of those patterns is the first step towards changing them.
Exactly. And if you're feeling inspired to explore your own money mindset further, there are a ton of resources available.
Like what?
Well, there are books and podcasts, of course, and also financial therapists who can offer more personalized guidance.
So there's really a path for everyone.
Exactly.
And I guess understanding your emotional relationship with money is like an ongoing process. Right?
Absolutely. It's all about learning, growing, and evolving as we navigate our financial lives.
So true. Well, I think that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of financial therapy.
Yeah, this was fascinating.
I hope this conversation has helped you look at money in a new way and maybe even inspired you to examine your own financial mindset.
Remember, financial well-being is within your reach.
It is.
By understanding those emotional forces at play, you can create a future filled with abundance and peace of mind.
Such a great point. And on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into financial therapy.
It was a pleasure being here.
Until next time, keep those questions coming. Keep exploring and keep diving deep.